sine rule. I will not bore you with the derivation of the sine rule. Okay, we will just be learning how to apply it. Okay, it's like, for example, for those of you who study physics, why is the gravity formula, I don't know whether you actually studied the gravity formula in secondary school, or is it maybe when you're older. But sometimes there may not be a need for you to know, okay, how the formula is actually being derived. It's good to know, okay, it's always good to know. But for mathematics, it's more important for us to know how to use it. Okay, and that is what we are going to use, what we're going to do today. This is actually a very simple formula to use, but you need to know when to use it. Okay, if you see that you have this triangle over here, I want you to write this two down. I'm going to explain it to you later on. Okay, I'm going to write to you when are we going to use this. Number one, you will use this when you are given two angles and one side. Okay, you will use this when you are given two angles and one side. The second case that you will use it is when you are given two sides and one angle. Can you just write that down? Okay, there are two conditions by which you will use the sine rule. Knowing the condition is very important so that you know when you need to use them. Now, there's one thing I need to highlight to you is that if you add up all these things, 2 plus 1, 2 plus 1, 2 plus 1, you'll realize that it is 3. Okay, so you need at least 3 sets of information. Either 2 angles on one side or 2 sides, 1 angle, but not all 3 sides. Okay, not all 3 sides. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, we can now focus on how to use this relationship or this sine rule. Okay, what the sine rule actually tells us is that we always look at the opposite. The ratio of the opposite sides are always equal. What do I mean? Okay, so we look at the first one. I can take the length A. If I take the length A and if I were to divide it by the sine of the opposite angle, it would be equals to length B divided by the sine of the opposite angle. Okay, so really this is what this particular sine rule actually is. It's just a series of ratios that are equal to one another. Okay, so the way that I would write this down, I know it's already been written down for you, but just to make it a little clearer, it would be, how I would do this is I would look at A, so I get A over sine A, the opposite one. Actually, this one is sine capital A. Okay, so this is sine capital A. This A over sine A is equals to B over sine B. Okay, that is what this sine rule actually tells us. And of course, likewise, it is C over sine C. Okay, it's the length C over the sine angle C. If this is a little confusing for you, don't worry, because when we do some work examples later on, it will be much clearer. Okay? And it doesn't really matter which one we take first. The sine rule is very flexible. Okay, so you don't have to actually memorize, oh, I must always take the length first divided by the sine of the angle. No, not true. You can actually do the converse, right? You can actually take the sine of the angle divided by the length. But the one key thing to take note here, okay, that you must remember is you always find the length of one side and you look for the opposite. Okay? You take the length of one side and you look at the opposite. And this one forms one pair. Likewise, you do that for the other and you look out for another pair. Okay, so let's, enough talking, right? So let's do some work examples immediately. Let's look at this extra practice question. Okay, I can zoom in on this particular diagram. And this question actually wants me to find the length of BC. BC is the opposite length over there. Let's just label it as X, shall we? Let's label this as X. So, based on the sine rule that I have actually come up with, I can Actually, all I need to know is ask myself, okay, what am I given? I'm given a side and 2 of the angles, right? So that is the minimum requirement. I need to know 3 of the things over here. 1 side and 2 angles means I can use sine rule. Now the second one is I'm just going to write down the series of relationship. Okay, I can take the sine of this angle, which is 125, so I'm going to write it down. Please write down along with me. I'll take the sine of 125 and I'm going to look opposite of it. Okay, I'm going to look opposite of it. So this sine 125 and this x will form a pair, right? So it will be sine 125 divided by x is equals to what? I need to look out for another pair of relationship. Okay, I need to look out for another pair of relationship. So I can see that this must be equals to the sine, let me find another angle, sine of 32, and I look to the opposite, over 9. Okay, so that's how I use the sine rule. So I'll get sine 32 over 9. Okay, so that's how I do this question over here. Of course, don't leave your answer as that because you want to find out what x is, right? So you need to cross multiply. Okay, for those of you who have forgotten, cross multiplication, please pay attention. So if I cross multiply, I'm going to get 9 sine 125 is equals to sine or x times sine 32. X sine 32. So if you enter into your calculator, x is equals to 9 sine 125 divided by sine 32. Make sure your calculator is in the degree mode. If you do that, you realize that your x is 13.9. This is to 3 sig fig. Okay, this is to 3 significant figures. My apologies, a bit out of frame. Okay, so this is to 3 significant figures. Okay, so this is how we would do this particular question over here. Not too difficult, I hope. Okay, but don't worry if you're still confused. Let's look at another question. If you're done, you can actually turn to the next question. Okay? If you're done and you're pretty confident on how to do these questions, then don't need to wait until I go through lah, okay? You just quickly do on your own. Okay, but for those of you who are still confused, not to worry. Let's go through another example together. Okay, so here they want us to find the length of the shortest side. Wow, this one is a tricky one, right? Because they ask us to find the length of the shortest side. They never even tell us which side to find. But if you know anything about geometry, okay, if you know anything about geometry, the shortest side, okay, if you want to find the shortest side, that means which side is it? If you look at the opposite angle, for example, if you look at this ZY, if you know that it's 55, okay, you know that it's 55, or if you look at this opposite angle, this is 60, can you see that the wider the angle, the longer the opposite side? Can you see that? And pause here for a moment, you have to understand this, it's a very important concept. The wider the angle, the longer the opposite side. The narrower the angle, the shorter the opposite side. Okay? So you can see here, if this is 55, this is 60, definitely 55 is going to be narrower, right? So this side is going to be narrower than 12. But how do we know what this side is? Do we know what this side is? Could it be that this is the shorter side? We don't know yet, right? But can we find out what this angle here is? Can we find out what this angle here is? I want to remind you again that in a triangle, the sum of all the angles in a triangle adds up to 180, okay? So if you want to find out this angle over here, you can actually take 180 minus 55 minus 60. So you will know that actually this angle here is 65 degrees. Okay, so you know the angle over there is 65 degrees. Now, if you know that, do you know which length are you supposed to find? Which length is the shortest side? Ding, ding, ding. Okay, this is the hardest part. Thinking about which is the shortest side. ZY, right? So ZY would have to be the shortest side. Okay, so we can just let zy, the shorter side, let's let it be x. Okay, we let the shorter side be x. So we know we are supposed to find x. Okay, so we can use the same strategy that we have come up earlier. I'll take the sine 55. Okay, I'll take the sine 55, which is over here, and I will look to the opposite, which is x. So this one I know I will divide it by x. And this one I know it is going to be equals to sine 60. Okay, so I know this is going to be equals to sine 60 divided, what's opposite sine 60? Divided by 12. Okay, so here is where I get my first mathematical relationship, our first equation. So to be able to solve this, again, I will do some cross multiplication magic. I get x sine 60 is equals to 12 sine 55. So therefore, my x is equals to 12 sine 55 divided by sine 60. Okay, if you do that, you enter in your calculator, leave your answer to 3 significant figures. Can you try that on your own? When you're done, you look up and check your answer with mine. Okay, I hope it's not too difficult. I hope you're getting the hang of it. Okay, I hope you're getting the hang of it. It's not too difficult at all. Okay, the sine rule is a pretty important one because in Trigo, there are many questions that need you to use the sine rule. And let me tell you, to be very frank with you, all the individual topics in Trigo are easy. But you know what is the hard part? When I put them all together. Right? Because in this one, I can tell you the formula. You know that it is this formula. But when I combine the area of a triangle, half AB sine C, I combine all the trigo that you need to know, or trigo of obtuse angles. I combine the sine rule, and later on there's another one, there's a cosine rule. That is when you're expected to do and solve questions all together, that is when you'll find the most difficult. Alone, they may be easy, but when they are together, they are not. Okay, so you need to be very clear-minded individually before, when you munch them all together, you'll be even more confused. Okay, if you are confused about this one. Okay, let's quickly move on to the next one, question number 3. Okay, anyway, just to inform you, I'm going to end off at question 4 only. Okay, I'm going to end off question 4 only. But I really need you to really understand. Okay, this is a very simple formula. I'm not going to keep you here for long because I know your brain is really half dead. Okay, but I need you to just try. Okay, last 2 questions to go, and then you got your freedom already. Okay, let's look at question number 3. Now they want us to find the angle ABC and angle ACB. Okay, so for angle ABC is which one? Angle ABC is over here. Let's label this as X. And ACB is over here. Let's label this as Y. Now, they want us to find the angle ABC. So let's try to figure out what this angle X is. Now, this angle X over here has an opposite pair over there of 5. So this X and 5 are one pair. So that's the very first thing that you should know. Okay, so you know that if you want to write down as a relationship, then you know that sine of angle X over 5 is one pair. Okay? And then you go and look into the triangle. Do you see any other pairs that you know? Do you see any other pairs that you know? You see you have a 1, 4, 5 here, right? And you look opposite, you have a 12. Okay? Can you, my question to you is, can you use this angle Y? Can you use this angle Y? You can't, right? Because even if you can use this angle Y, do you know what's the opposite length? You don't even know this opposite length. Okay, so you must always use the information that you know. Okay, so since you know you want to find angle X, so sine X over 5 is equals to sine 145 over 12. That's how we use this formula. Can you please write that down? And this time around, can you work it out on your own? Okay, I write down the first one for you. So it's 145 over 12. So if I were to cross multiply this, what would I get? I'll get 12 sine x is equals to 5 sine 145. Right, so therefore, my sine x is equals to 5 sine 145 over 12. Oh, is this my final answer? No. Right, this is not my final answer. To get my final answer, what do I have to do? Okay, I need to do the sine inverse of whatever this answer is. Okay, so enter in your calculator, you should get x is equals to 13.8 degrees. This is to 1 decimal place. Okay, this is to 1 decimal place. Make sure you are able to do this question. Make sure you are able to do this question. Not too difficult. Now that you can do this question, can you do ACB on your own? Same thing. Okay, same thing. Ask yourself, if now you want to find, actually not even the same thing, it's much easier. Right? If you know what angle X is, can you find out what angle Y is? Not everything you have to use sine rule. Okay, not everything you have to use sine rule. Okay, in a triangle, what is the total sum of angles? 180. So if you know this angle is 145 and you know that this angle is 13.8, can you find what's the angle Y? Okay, many of your greatest weakness is that you tend to use, when this is on sine rule, everything must be sine rule, not true. Okay, sometimes it's wrong angle, is it? Did I calculate wrongly? It's not 13.8. Did I calculate wrongly? Let me work it out. Correct? It's correct. Correct? Okay. I may have calculated wrongly because I just did this like 5 minutes ago before I came to class. Okay? So if x is 13.8, then what is angle y? Yes. Sorry? How did I get 13.8? Okay, can. So let's work out together. Until this part, is everyone okay? This one okay, right? So if you want to find what is sine x, then we take 5 sine 145 divided by 12. Make sure that your calculator is in the radian mode. Let's calculate together. So I get 5 sine 145 divided by 12. So I'll get 0.2389. Do you get 0.2389? Okay, so you get sine is equals to 0.2389. Now, in order for us to find out what x is, we need to take the sine inverse. So can you press in your calculator, you need to press shift sine. Then you enter 0.2389. Do you get 13.8? Of course you get 13.82 lah. Can? Managed to get it, Okay, so that's how you actually get the answer. You need to press sine inverse. Don't leave your answer as just sine x. Okay, because you want to find out what's x. Okay, so going back to this example, so our value of y in this case, the value of y is going to be 180. Subtract away 145. Subtract away 13.8. Which we have found earlier. So our answer here is 21.2 degrees. Okay, this is to 1 decimal place as well. Okay, this is to 1 decimal place as well. Okay, the last one really. Okay, suddenly the last one, suddenly all of you got energy, right? The last one, let's look at the one that is below. Question number 4. Find angle KML. Where is KML? KML is over here. Before you leave here, make sure you can do this question by yourself. Okay, don't leave here without knowing how to do this question. Okay? I give you about 2 minutes to try by yourself first. Okay, can you find KML? Write down the trigo relationship. Now, okay, I think some of you will have some issues. Okay, some of you will have some issues. Let's look at this question together, just to help you out, because I think some of you are really stuck. When you write down the trigo relationship over here, some of you tried to write sine x divided by something, and you try to look over here. You don't see anything over here. You're not given a particular length over here, right? That means, what does this tell you? You cannot use that pair of ratio. Okay, you cannot use that pair. Now, if you cannot use that pair, don't dismay. Ask yourself, can you do another pair? Now, there are more than one ways for you to find angle x. You can find angle x if you know, for example, what is angle y. Right? If you know what is angle y, do you know what is angle x? You know, right? You can use the sum of angle in a triangle. Okay? So, in this case, you can actually find angle y first. My sine y is going to divide by 10 is going to be equals to the sine of 25 divided by 8. Okay? We find sine y, we look at the opposite one, which is 10. And we know that this is going to be equals to the sine of 25 divided by the opposite side of 8. So if you solve this, you can actually do a cross multiplication. We get 8 sine y is equals to 10 sine 25. So my sine y will give me 10 sine 25 over 8. So my y in this case would be, what's my y in this case? 31.9 degrees. Okay, if your y is 31.9 degrees, can you find out what's x? Same thing, right? My x now is just 180 minus 25 minus 31.9. Okay, so check your answer with mine. If your answer is correct, you may leave. Okay? Bye-bye. Okay, so the answer is 123.1. If your answer is correct, you may leave. If your answer is wrong, please seek help. Okay, now you can go, please. Leave. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Just have to name the unknown x or y, then after that, out of the length, and then afterwards just cross multiply, and afterwards just do the sine thingy, and then when you sort out this part, right,